Hi, my name is Tom Albrecht. I've been coming to ACC about 8 years with my family. Um, I guess my story, you know, like everybody's story, starts as a kid, and I was I was in a home, a loving home. I guess religion was part of that upbringing. It was more of a thing that we did on Sundays, prayed at meals. Not necessarily super personal. It was more religious and be a good person type stuff. And somewhere in my teenage years, I just struggled with it. I just decided like I don't really believe any of this, and had that rough talk with my parents that look, I don't really believe this, and I don't really see why I would go to church and all that stuff. And they let me not go for a period of time. So I kind of went what I think would be phrased as agnostic. I didn't really take an atheist view or there is no God. I just said I don't really know. And I think as I reflect on it, I really wanted to live my life the way I wanted to live my life, and all these rules were getting in the way, I think. And so I went off to college and had a fairly standard college experience. Kind of went my own way, did my own thing, and took my first job in San Antonio, Texas. That was a big step. I thought I was a pretty independent person, but moving all the way away from no friends, no family, had an issue there. Like after about a month, I blew my knee out and got stuck in my apartment for about 4 or 5 months just by myself. Third floor apartment. They brought me a computer from work. I'm a software guy, and that was kind of tough. Again, I thought I was independent and was good being alone, but that was like super alone. There were some folks at my work that brought me, one guy brought me, like he would come by 3 times a week and bring me lunch. And that was like a lifeline for me. And anyway, I got back to work, and that same guy, he had mentioned he was going to a Bible study. And so because I had been raised in somewhat of a religious home, and I was like, well, that's interesting, that somebody that, I considered to be a very nice guy, very intellectual, and kind of a cool guy, was going to a Bible study. So I started attending that Bible study, and started asking all the kind of questions that maybe other people do too, like, well, what about this? What about that? Thankfully, they were patient, and they allowed me to ask my questions, and I got to see them and their witness, kind of what I call now their witness, but the way they lived their lives. And I decided I would start searching, and take this a little more seriously. Got myself, the most expensive Bible I could find, because I guess I thought that would, it'd be better if I had a leather NIV study Bible, even though I didn't know what that was at the time. And I started reading that, and one of the gentlemen in the study kind of took me under his wing and walked me through a study of John. And as I walked through John, many chapters, I think it was, 15, 16 chapters before, I was asking questions, but somewhere along that journey, I started to see the truth that God was real, that Jesus was a real person, and that he really did live, and he died for my sins. And I was confronted then, like, wow. And I believe the Spirit was, now again, as I look back, the Spirit was drawing me. And there was this time where I was really confronted with this idea of like, wow, I think this is actually true. I understand, at least to some degree, that this would be a change in my path. I knew it was big. I didn't know everything, but I knew it would be turning my life over to Jesus, because as I read through John, that made it clear, that Jesus wasn't just there to save me. He was there to be my Lord and Savior. And honestly, I struggled with it because, I had a 5-liter Mustang with a red racing stripe. I liked chasing girls, all that, 20-something things. And I'm like, well, what is this going to mean? I don't really want to turn my life over. But as I began to see the truth, and that it was actually, I started to believe this is actually true. I was confronted, and I describe it as each night I would go to this, I would start thinking about it. There was this wall, and I would go up to it, and I'd touch it, and I'd gently touch it, but I was like, no, I don't want to go through that wall. And actually, it was probably a door. I didn't want to push through that door because I wanted my life. I wanted to live my life the way I wanted to. And I just remember one night, I'm like, okay, I can't. I've got to make a decision here, and I believe this is true. And I said, okay, Lord, I'm in. And whatever that means, I said, I'm in, I surrender, I'll follow you. And then I went to sleep. But the next day I woke up, and it was quite strange. Everything seemed different. I just had a different mindset. I used to, drink quite, not a lot, but I would drink a lot of beer. Or, my conversation was not always, was colorful. That went away. And my interest in things spiritual changed. And I became very interested in the Bible and Jesus. And from that point on, things kind of, it for me, I would really describe it as like a 180. And it was like, I think in that decision time, an analogy would be, I took the car keys of my life and I turned them over and I said, okay, you're driving now. And that began my journey of getting to know Jesus much closer, and walking with him through the good and bad. There have been multiple instances where where you get confronted with, okay, do I really believe what I say I believe, right? Where am I really going to follow this? And one of those instances was we adopted a little girl, and beautiful baby girl. She was our sweetest little thing, and the birth mom changed her mind and took the baby back, and that was rough. That was one of those times where it was it was taking it back to a bad situation. It was not healthy, and to be honest, I was angry, and for 24 hours anyway, I railed against God, and God put his firm hand on me. And it wasn't a harsh hand, it was a firm hand, and said, am I your Lord? I'm your Lord when things are going well. Am I your Lord when things are tough and you don't understand? And that was a kind of another pivotal time of this surrender. Either I believe it or I don't. Either you are my Lord or you're not. I think that's what the Lord was asking me, was saying, am I really your Lord? And I answered yes. And we walked through that, and I just held true to you're my Lord, even though I don't understand, even though this is so painful to have to drop my beautiful baby girl off on a doorstep of the counselor and never to see her again. And we walked through that, and the Lord, I think the Lord blessed us for that. And, soon after that, we were able to adopt our current daughter. So that is a huge blessing. But I think that was kind of a pivotal part in our faith. And God, again, confronting me with this aspect of, am I really your Lord? Through those times, I do think that initial surrender was really important. But the Lord has had to remind me. I've often tried to grab those keys back. I've tried to take control of areas that, and the Lord has gently and sometimes firmly reminded me that no, I'm Lord, and I'm we have this relationship now, and so it's been it's been some times where I've had to almost okay, that's right, you're driving. I'm gonna stop grabbing for the keys as much, and so that's kind of been my story. It's been, I tell people if I am sharing my faith, I'm saying it's the best decision I've ever made in my life to follow Jesus. And there have been tough times, but just knowing that Jesus is with me, that He's Lord of my life, and He'll be with me through it all, has been just a huge blessing.